Yo, what is up? Today's tryhard is the Rinoceronte, and we are riding with Saint Colo. Why am I showing you his stats? So that you know you are watching a top 1% player. Every move he makes is planned, is calculated, it's purposeful. Now we are in Empire's border, spawning on the south, and the Rinoceronte. I mean, I know it's called the Rinoceronte, but you know, I was just trying to wind up these Italians in the video. Just kidding around. Anyway, we are in Empire's border. The Rinoceronte, let's pronounce it properly before we step on too many toes. We are riding with Saint Colo, and he is firing standard APCR shells. Now a lot of people are going to be using standard APCR shells and not the premium shells, and that is because the standard APCR shells have higher velocity, 1400 plus meters per second, and not too bad penetration as well, 268 penetration versus the 325 on the premium heat shells, which has really slow velocity, 756 meters per second on the premium heat shells, which is a no-no for most people, which is why you're going to see a lot of the better players are just going to run APCR shells. 268 is plenty penetration, and immediately he takes on the K line, gets right to the end, and you see him taking a little bit of damage there from the 50 TP. And once again, this is a brand new tank. A lot of people are trying to discover how good it works, how well will the armor hold up, and how well is this auto reloading mechanic going to work out for them. Now, as you know, or if you don't know, this is a new auto reloading mechanic. It works a bit like the Progetto medium tanks. It is not a full clip auto loading mechanism. It is an auto reloading. You fire one shot, it'll reload one shell, but there is a little bit of a bonus. If you happen to fire your shots while it is reloading, you can get a bit of a bonus reload on your next shell. So depending on, if you look at the reload time, there's a parenthesis that shows up in the middle of your reload. If it's the first parenthesis, you will save 16% of loading time on your next shell. If it's the second parenthesis, you will save 30% of reload time on your next shell, and the maximum you can save is 50% on your next reload shell if you have the maximum parentheses. Look at the parentheses. This is the first parenthesis, the second parenthesis, and then the third parenthesis, and you're going to see it happen right now. If you look at the reload, the first parenthesis, and then the second parenthesis here, and then the maximum parenthesis, this one, just 2 seconds before it fully reloads. If you happen to fire your gun or forced to fire your gun at that time, you will still be able to save 50% on the next shell that you reload. Now our friend is out of shells now. He is reloading the first shell, which only took him half the time because he fired with the maximum bonuses allowed. Very lucky to get away with from that E3 there. He managed to dodge a shell from that E3 because he darted right in front of him, across him, and that E3 didn't pull the trigger or didn't have his gun aimed 100% yet, and he missed that shell. Very lucky for him, because he would have lost what, 800 HP on that shot. As you can see now that he has killed all the tanks down in the K line, he did not push on straight to the enemy's base because there is 2 tanks there, the 704 and the Waffenträger. Instead, what he did is he looked at his minimap and he noticed that the enemies are going to be attacking from the north and about to reach the base, so he was frantically telling his team to return to base and defend the base, which is exactly where he is heading. The other guys that are defending the base are that Burask, and you can see that 703 version 2 in front of him there. These are the only guys that have half a brain cell here working. They paid attention to their minimap. They can see that the enemies are going to be reaching their base soon and could possibly cap them out, so that Rask has taken a good position to create crossfire and finish off at CS 52. And now the big daddy is here. This is a 3-5-7 matchmaking. The Rinoceronte is the top tier heavy tank. It is the only heavy tank that is in tier 10. The other two tier 10 tanks are tank destroyers and an artillery piece. So basically this is just the best matchmaking that he can possibly get. He is the only tier 10 heavy. There isn't even an enemy tier 10 medium tank. The other heavy tank on the enemy team is the E100, and he has taken a position up north, which means there was no one actually challenging him when he was pushing down the K line and up the 1-2 line. And now he has located that E100. He is going to try and sneak up behind that E100 and try to land all 3 shells on that E100 for free damage. So that's exactly what he's doing, but he needs to pay attention to the rest of the enemy teams. So that's exactly what he's going to do. While he gets this free shot, he's going to take it and he's going to unload on that E100. One shot on him, one shot, second shot on that E100, and the third shot, instead of finishing that E100, he decides to shoot the 703 version 2. Now remember, I told you I've spoken about this auto reloading mechanic before. You can try to wait for your bonus reload before you fire your gun so that you can maximize your DPM. But when you're in situations like this, if you can unload all 3 shells, you do it, because you don't know how if that E100 was going to get away or that 703 was going to get into cover. So you might as well just unload all your shells if you can. Our friend Saint Colo here is paying attention to the north side of the map because the standard B was last spotted there. So he is going to try and take up this bush and try to spot out that standard B if he can, and he does. Standard B made a bad play here. He is trying to run away, but he is caught out in the open and he lost all his HP for that. And now he is making his way to the enemy team, and what does he do? He immediately stops in his tracks and turns around. Why? Because if you look at the minimap, you can see that ELC even has taken a position down south, and he is going to be threatening our artillery piece. And ELC even is very small tank, invisible tank, and he could easily destroy that artillery piece and then go out to cap our base, which we won't have enough time to run back to our base to defend it if that ELC did that. So what our friend here is trying to do is try to cut in between that in between the map, try to go in between and try to take this side of the map, and he lucked out here, found that ELC even in this position. Very lucky to find him here, and destroys that ELC even, but not without taking a huge hit from that 704 for 711 damage. Just as well, he still had a lot of HP, so he could take a hit from that 704, but there was like I said, these kind of games that have huge damage counts, it has to happen with a little bit of luck. As soon as he saw that ELC, he turned around and came this way, and so lucky to find not just the ELC but also the 704 and the Waffenträger here, all the 3 remaining tanks, which he can farm if he plays this out well. He can easily kill all 3 of them, which is exactly what he's gonna do. Now the 704 is a very well armored tank, but even with the stock standard shell on the Rinoceronte, 268 penetration, he is actually, our friend here, he's actually looking down on that 704. The 704 is on lower ground, and he's got the sloped armor actually pointing, looking at our friend here, which means that sloped armor, the frontal sloped armor, is actually kind of flat for our friend Saint Colo here. That is why it is quite easily pen the upper plate of that 704, and just like that, 9,263 damage. He gets an ace tanker, he gets a top gun, he gets a tank sniper badge, he gets a high caliber. 9,263 damage, 6 kills for the top gun, and also 990 assisted damage. He also managed to block 1,630. Like I said, the Rinoceronte and all of the Italian heavy tanks, when they are on flat ground, their armor doesn't count for shit. The turret armor isn't very good. Heat shells can easily penetrate it. The only time the turret armor works well is when you are using your 10 degrees of gun depression looking down at your enemies. So I hope you enjoyed this video and had a first look at the high damage gameplay by a really good player in the Rinoceronte. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.